If you go to Boston, you're going into TD Garden, and you don't know what it is, turn around, go home. Just turn around, go home.
Welcome to Hockey and Podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to episode number 2 of the Hockey and Podcast, the podcast where we talk about hockey and other issues that will change from week to week. As always, I'm your host, Jay, and on the other side of the mic is my lovely wife, Jennifer. Jennifer, say hello to everybody.
That's AKA our better half. Hello, everybody. How are ya?
The better half by far. Jen, this is episode 2. Got through episode 1. How you doing today?
I'm good. I'm raring to go. I mean, it feels like we just did all of this. And I suppose we did, but literally it feels like it was yesterday. But yeah, I'm ready for it, though. I like the subjects we got going on, so bring it.
You heard the lady. We're going to bring it right away. And what we're going to be bringing are some interesting topics. So we're going to kick off the show with some quick NHL news. There were some players on the move. We want to kind of just get our thoughts on that. And then in the first half, which is the hockey half, the beautiful Jennifer came up with the topic of what are the top 3 most memorable hockey moments in each of our lives. So we're each going to take 3 moments that really affected us or we've remembered and kind of run through our thoughts on those. And then, Jen, I had an interesting thought for segment number 2. Why don't you explain what we're going to talk about?
Well, you had brought up some rumors, I guess, that came across your feed at some point, probably because I've been doing some research on things. And you said, are there really hockey romances out there? And I'm here to tell you, yes, there are tons of them. And we'll get into a lot more detail. But yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah, it is a thing, people, and it's a thing that's going to turn some cheeks blushy red when they hear what goes on in some of these stories, as I throw the air quotes up. Okay, well, we might as well get right into it. So let's get into it with our NHL news, where, as mentioned, there are a couple of trades this week, Jen. And who in the NHL or what kind of fan doesn't love a hockey trade?
Absolutely.
So the first trade was between the Edmonton Oilers and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, the Pittsburgh Penguins sent goaltender Tristan Jarry and forward Samuel Poulin to the Edmonton Oilers, and the Penguins in return got back from the Oilers goalie Stuart Skinner, defenseman Brett Kulak, and a second-round pick in the year 2029. Now, Jen, a change had to come in Edmonton. At the beginning of the season, they knew they had issues with the goaltender that for them to make a run for the cup, they needed to address. But the fact that, let's say, the management felt that this was the solution is really got me a little bit kind of confused. Let me explain why. Now, Tristan Jarry's value maybe has increased over the past few weeks. I mean, he's been playing pretty well. But the funny part about all this is, if the Edmonton Oilers really liked Tristan Jarry at some point in the past, they could have claimed him for free off of waivers at one point. So why didn't they back then? Was it because they thought he was still a volatile goaltender, but now all of a sudden he's not? I mean, obviously the Edmonton Oilers have Stanley Cup aspirations, and the fact that they don't trust Stuart Skinner to be the number 1 is kind of an issue, and maybe that's why they had to trade him. He's had issues with durability. He's had issues with ups and downs, whether it's in the regular season or in the postseason. He's also had issues with health, and that makes it tough on an organization. And the same applies with Tristan Jarry. Now, throughout his 9 years in the league, Jarry has only appeared in 8 playoff games. And he was not good in any of those playoff games. So now we're saying that the starting goaltender for the Edmonton Oilers, with the great Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl on their team, is now potentially Tristan Jarry. Again, we mentioned his value's been on the increase a little bit. His save percentage has risen to 909, which is decent. But again, they had to give up more to get him than before they could have got him for free. The Oilers had to give up the defenseman Kulak, who was a second-round pick and a draft pick, to pull this off. Kulak's a great player. He's one of those deep, depth guys that you're going to need at some point during the year. And the better part that I think where the Pittsburgh really made out is Tristan Jarry had a $5.375 million cap hit as far as his contract goes. Stuart Skinner's is only $2.6 million. Okay, so you're giving up the guy that could free up money for you at some point if you got rid of him next year, what have you. But now you're stuck with Jarry's higher contract for a few more years. That's why they had to get rid of Kulak's $2.75 million. The money just didn't make sense, just the one-to-one.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say, it doesn't seem like a very balanced trade.
Yeah, and that's the interesting part. If you're the Edmonton Oilers, you're saying we need a goaltender. You go out and get this guy. You give up, like we said, more to get him. To get a goaltender that could be good, I do throw the words could be. I mean, maybe he comes out of this and stands on his head and Edmonton wins a Stanley Cup and we all look like fools. Could be is a long way from that final outcome. My other part of this problem is this. Now, the Edmonton Oilers are at a point where the money they've spent when it comes to cap, they're right up against the cap now. If, say, by the end of the year, they need to add somebody else or a different kind of player, now they're stuck.
Right.
They can't go out and maybe get somebody that could push them over the top with this trade. You're looking at all the avenues, and maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't.
Wow, that's putting an awful lot of pressure on the new one coming in. My God, it's so unbalanced.
Now, from the Pittsburgh side of things, I'm going to applaud them as far as this trade goes. I mean, they took in Stuart Skinner with his contract. And again, I say a comparable goalie to Tristan Jarry. The other part of that is they added a little more depth with Kulak coming in. And if they contend for the playoffs, you're talking a depth player, a potential starting goaltender, where you kind of started off with. If they don't make the playoffs, the nice thing about it is Stuart Skinner's contract is up this season, where we mentioned Tristan Jarry still had another 2 years of term. So he's stuck in the Edmonton Oilers organization for 2 more years, whereas Stuart Skinner at the end of the year, if he doesn't perform, Pittsburgh moves on, frees up a lot of cap, and away they go. And the nice part about it is right now, Pittsburgh has 3 goaltenders kind of in their minor league system that are showing some promise. Pittsburgh gets rid of a bad contract, gets one that's going to be very friendly to them at the end of the year, and gets a little bit of depth on top of it. And oh, by the way, they get a second-round pick in 2029, where draft picks are always good things to have. There's the trade. Everyone's still kind of scratching their head to say, was this a good trade? Was it not? I guess we'll just wait and see, how the season plays out. But I'm going to give this trade a grade. Just my own personal when I'm looking at it to say which, grades for both sides. For the Pittsburgh Penguins, I'm giving them a B grade. Like I mentioned before, I think the trade as far as the goaltenders go is you're trading 1 for 1. It's a lateral trade, but the contract is what I think makes it, hey, they're going to be able to dump them or maybe re-sign them after this year for cheap. They also add some depth with Kulak and they get a pick. So that's why I gave them a B grade. For the Oilers, I gave them a D grade. You have Connor McDavid, you have Leon Draisaitl. That's not the problem. They're going to score goals for you. Your problem has been your goaltending and your defense just isn't tough enough. And as we all know, when the playoffs start, the game gets rough. You got to have some tough defensemen that can grind things out. You can't think you're going to go into playoffs and just outscore a team. That just doesn't happen. You need a well-rounded team. We'll see what this goaltender does. My personal opinion, I think they took a step backwards. And now, are we basically saying with Connor McDavid's 2-year extension, after 2 years, if they can't figure this out, Connor McDavid's walking out that door. I guess we'll find out in the end. But it's an interesting thing to talk about. We'll kind of keep our thumb on the pulse of that, see how it plays out during the year, and then we'll revisit to see, hey, did Pittsburgh make a good move? Did Edmonton make a good move? Now, of the two moves that happened, that was kind of the boring trade. Now let's talk about the exciting trade that happened. The trade went down between the Vancouver Canucks, who are struggling right now. It's looking like they're going to rebuild, and the Minnesota Wild. Well, the trade consisted of a top player in the NHL, and that doesn't happen too often, but hockey trades do happen. So the trade consisted of the following. The Vancouver Canucks received from the Minnesota Wild forward Marco Rossi, forward Liam Ogren, and defenseman, here's a great name in the NHL. It's Zeev Buam. Zeev Buam. Now, I hope I'm saying that right. I looked at it phonetically, and that's what it looks like, so hopefully that's it.
We shall see.
He is an Israeli player, which is interesting as well, too. On top of that, the Canucks received from the Wild a 2026 first-round draft pick. Who did the Minnesota Wild, get in return? Well, they got young defenseman Quinn Hughes of the Hughes family.
Yeah, I just know there's quite a few people crying at this point.
Let's look at it this way. If you're a Vancouver fan, you are definitely crying in your soup today. I don't know if that's an expression, but we're going to make it. Crying in your soup is definitely got to be. Is it? Okay, then, hey, we found something. Quinn Hughes is, I would say, the number 2 or 3 offensive defenseman in the NHL right now, probably behind Cale Makar. But the kid can play. He drives play. He can move with the puck effortlessly. He captains the power play, and he is an offensive threat. And we see that based off of his career so far. Quinn Hughes has played so far in 459 games, where he has 61 goals, 371 assists for 432 points. Jen, you're a math major, I think, at one point. If you take the points total in the games, that's almost a point per game, correct?
It is.
Good answer. And that's what you're looking for out of offensive players. You want your offensive players to at least be at that point per game average. With the Wild getting this defenseman who can move the puck, they really look good now. The Minnesota Wild already have Kirill Kaprizov, who is an offensive threat all the way around. They have Matthew Boldy, who is a big boy who knows how to put the puck in the net. Now they're joining Quinn Hughes with their other superstar defenseman, Brock Faber. Hey, they're starting to put together. Oh, by the way, Jen, get this. Guess one thing that the Wild don't have that the Edmonton Oilers do have? They don't have a goaltending problem. They have 2 goaltenders that are playing superbly right now with Jesper Wallstedt, or whatever his name is, Wallstedt. But he's playing off the charts right now. So right now the Wild are looking pretty good. And oh, by the way, they added Quinn Hughes. Now the Canucks, let's take a step back. Let's pat the Canuck fans on the back of their shoulder and say, it's okay. It's okay. We understand. Your team's not going anywhere. Looks like you kind of have to rebuild, retool, whatever is the word you want to use. So let's take a look at the players they received. Now, Marco Rossi is a nice player. He's a center, but he just didn't really live up to what they thought he would be. Now, in all due fairness, Marco Rossi came into the league during that COVID kind of, lockout and he had a difficult time adjusting to that. He also had some issues with health and injury, and he didn't really get going too quickly. And he started to pick things up, but again, he never really kind of shined through as an offensive threat that they needed him to be. They were hoping he would be a number 1 center, but at the end of the day, a guy like Marco Rossi is more of a 2 or 3 line center, but it doesn't really look like he could be that guy that can lead your team on the first line to be that center. In his career, he's played in 202 games where he has 49 goals, 65 assists for 114 points. Jen, quick math. What does that tell us?
You keep giving me these quick math things. I was never a mathematician. I'm not good at math. I have no idea. You said the numbers on it. I don't even know what the numbers are anymore. They came in my head. They went out of my head. Come on now.
If you have 114 points total in 202 games, you are under a point per player game. Wah, wah. Didn't quite live up to what they needed him to be. But again, he could be a nice fit in Vancouver as a number 2, number 3 center, which is something that they need. Now, the other player, Liam Olgren, he's only played in 46 NHL games, 3 goals, 4 assists, 7 points. Jen, under a point per game player.
Right.
Now, the other defenseman who's a little more interesting, which is the name of the day, which is Zeev Buam, he's a little bit more interesting when it comes to the player side of it. He is considered an offensive defenseman. Now, again, he is a rookie this year, so he's just kind of breaking through. So, again, he's touted as a prospect that you could probably maybe pair as a top 1 or 2 line defense. Right now, he's not really living up to that super offensive potential like we mentioned, but he has been compared to other NHL offensive defensemen like Erik Karlsson. If this kid can turn out to be even close to Erik Karlsson, he will have a really great career. But the problem is this. Whenever you're talking about offensive defensemen, you hope that the offensive productivity doesn't get outweighed by the defensive deficiencies. And that's something that this young kid has to be careful of. Because at age 20 right now, those are kind of red flags that are popping up. What separates Quinn Hughes from this kid as far as offensive capabilities, Quinn Hughes is going to back up his defensive deficiencies with his offensive capabilities. This kid, we don't know yet. Still early, we'll find out, but right off the bat, it's not an equal comparison. So again, you just don't want to put this kid into situations where he's going to potentially fail, and then he's not going to have confidence, and now you just blew trade. So again, it's a work in progress. This, I think, trade really signals that 2 franchises are moving in opposite directions. One's trying to make a run for a Stanley Cup. The other one's trying to free up some money to start rebuilding, come up with a new team concept, new players, whatever the case may be. What this is going to come down to is who wins this trade, I guess, or who comes out better. How far does Minnesota go now with Quinn Hughes? What is going to happen with Vancouver now that they're starting to shed talent?
It'll be interesting to see.
Now, as far as I'm going to give both of these teams a grade, I'm going to start with the Canucks. I'm going to give them a C grade. I think they did a decent job. They had to move Quinn Hughes because he wasn't going to re-sign with them in 2 years. He wants to be in a contender. He's young. Vancouver needs to rebuild. He doesn't want to be part of the rebuild. Well, you might as well get something for him before you just let him walk and you get nothing for him. Now, as we said, Marco Rossi, nice player. Liam Olgren, we'll see. And Zeev, we'll see. But he's got upside potential. And they got that first-round pick, which is always a good thing to have in your back pocket. So hence, that's why I gave him the C. Obviously, they gave up Quinn Hughes as a huge talent. But again, it kind of needed to happen. Now, as far as the Minnesota Wild and general manager Billy Guerin, I'm going to give them an A- on this. Quinn Hughes was available. I'm sure when that came across the NHL wire, every single GM was looking at, hey, can we pick up Quinn Hughes? Now, he was linked to go, everyone thought he was going to go to the Devils. Made sense. Both his brothers are there. They had some nice pieces that they could have traded for and maybe gotten him. But Minnesota came through and offered a package, the Canucks, that they couldn't turn down. The only reason why I didn't give them a higher grade than an A- is one simple question. Can the Minnesota Wild re-sign Quinn Hughes? Now imagine you give up all of that to get this kid, and then in 2 years he walks. That could be a bad thing. Wouldn't you agree?
That would suck.
Right.
Yeah.
Hopefully that doesn't happen. Minnesota's a pretty cool franchise. They're a pretty solid team. Adding Quinn Hughes is making them even better. But at the end of it all, you got to lock him into that contract. So with the Canucks getting a C and the Minnesota Wild getting an A-, I think overall Quinn Hughes is going to make fans in Minnesota very happy this season potentially. Let's get into our hockey side of our podcast today, and let's talk about 3 memorable hockey moments in our lives that have affected us in some way. Why don't you start off, and why don't you start with your number 3 pick?
I think the first one that I want to bring out is Mario Lemieux, his return from being out due to Hodgkin's lymphoma in 1993. That's some wild stuff. I mean, he was diagnosed in January of that year. He went through. The man went through so much. I mean, he's a beast to begin with. He just showed how much more of a beast he was than what we ever knew. I mean, he returned to the ice on his final treatment day in March of '93 against Philly, and then that whole year, I mean, he had an incredible comeback. I looked it up. He scored 56 points. That's 30 goals in his first 20 games back. I mean, that is impressive. That is some wild stuff. I mean, to me, that's one of the best comeback stories as far as hockey is concerned for me. I mean, they even made it to the playoffs that year. So, I mean, who's better than him? His return to the game, I remember that. I remember watching that. And that was, I mean, I always liked him to begin with, but man, there's something that just tugs at your heart, you know? He battled and he made it back, and you know, he wound up being in really good shape afterward, and that's fantastic. So that's one of my big moments in hockey history.
It's interesting because recently I listened to another podcast, YouTube show that had a Mario Lemieux, I guess you could say, fan on there. And he kind of went through like Mario Lemieux's history and talked about a lot of different things.
Oh, yeah.
And he did talk about that. And he talked about, if I recall correctly, that Mario Lemieux was also a pretty big smoker, that he would smoke cigarettes in between periods or right before games. But here, the interesting fact, and this is something that's not on my list, but when we talk about Mario Lemieux and how great he was, a memory I have is that his very first game in his NHL career was against the Boston Bruins.
Oh, there you go. Wow.
And check this out. His very first, I believe it was shot on goal, was a goal against the Boston Bruins.
Oh, snap. No.
So how about that?
Really?
So shout out to Bill Brasky. Thank you for all that Mario Lemieux knowledge. I do firmly believe that a lot of people think he's a great player, but I think he gets left a little bit back in the shadows than he should be. And a lot of that is because he missed a lot of time because of these health injuries. Imagine, I mean, if he was just healthy that whole time, he would have probably be.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's a top grade anyway.
Absolutely.
But I feel like some people don't give him the credit. All right, that was pretty interesting. I do remember that vividly. I remember him coming back when he had the black turtleneck.
Yeah, me too.
Don't ask me how I remember that. I'm going to give you my number 3.
What do you got?
You ready? You'll remember this, I know.
Okay.
1994, Mark Messier guarantees a victory in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Now, the New York Rangers in the 90s.
That was when I was still a fan.
You were a new fan?
A fan of yeah.
Well, in that year, in the 93-94 season, the Rangers were on fire. I mean, they won the President's Trophy, right? Most points in the season. And this was for the second time in 3 years. But still, in that time period, they had not won a Stanley Cup in 54 years leading up to that. When you win the President's Trophy, the goal is then Stanley Cup. Anything less than that's a disappointment. Well, they get into the Stanley Cup playoffs, and they go right through the Islanders. Then they go right through the Capitals in their first 2 rounds. But then they end up facing their division rival, the New Jersey Devils, in the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, that was a great series. It started off, it was tightly contested, but eventually the Devils took a 3-2 lead going into Game 6 in New Jersey. Well, Mark Messier says, I've had enough of this. Mark Messier, I think he pulled probably the best Joe Namath imitation that I've ever seen. And he said it, I guarantee the Rangers will win Game 6. So let's pause there. Jen, what do you think about his bravado? Do you applaud that as a player? Or would you rather see your captain be just, typical, hey, we're going to play a game, we're going to play as a team?
Oh, no, no. Oh, no, no. No, no. No, don't sit back. No. Captains, they can't be sitting back. No, I applaud his bravado. I love the ego that goes along with this whole game. You can't get on the ice without some attitude. You can't. You can't. You got to bring the attitude. And Messier did it with the best of them.
And he had the reason to do it. I mean, It's not like he's a guy that came from nowhere. He had come from the Edmonton Oilers, where I think they won a few Stanley Cups. So he knows what it takes to win a Stanley Cup. Comes to New York, who hasn't won one in 54 years, and now his back's up against the wall. And what does Mark Messier do when his back's up against the wall? He comes out swinging.
Yes, he does.
Here's the bad part. You make a statement like that, you got to back it up, right?
Did he back it up?
Back it up, he did.
Yes, he did.
He went out scoring 3 goals and assisting on another one in a come-from-behind victory, 4-2.
Beautiful thing.
So he backs it up with 3 goals, and he assists on the 4th goal just for the fun of it to pull the win out. And the best part about it, that pushes you to Game 7, Madison Square Garden, where another memorable moment happens, where Stefan Matteau's double overtime goal advanced them into the Stanley Cup Finals. Well, they got to the Stanley Cup. They edged out Vancouver in 7 games, and we all recall the Mark Messier as he's pumping the cup, laughing and smiling, and the Rangers win.
To this day, my heart just goes wild when like I said, at the time I was a Rangers fan at that time, and I remember him pumping the Stanley Cup and just being so proud. I was so proud.
Any hockey fan, I still remember that day vividly. I remember watching going, oh, that's a statement. And he backed it up. They go on to win the series. They go on to win the Stanley Cup. So there's my number 3 moment. Jen, hit us with your number 2 moment.
All right, not to be a downer. I feel like I'm giving you all the downer ones here, but I've got Rich Peverley. Rich Peverley, Dallas Stars. So Rich Peverley, in March 2014, his heart stopped briefly during a game. I guess he had some issues prior to it. They apparently thought that everything was all set. He was checked out by doctors and he was cleared to return. He played 2 games in between, and then for whatever reason, this was the time he collapsed. He collapsed on the bench. He went into cardiac arrest. The man died on the bench. They carted him back. They had used the defibrillator on him, and they brought him back from the brink. That's some heavy stuff. And, what did the man say? What did the man say? What did this man say when they brought him back? He said, how much time is left? And can I go back to the game? Who does that? Who does that? I mean, that's just some wild stuff. So, I mean, he had 2 doctors working on him, which is common. It's common for them to, in the background, all of these games, there's doctors around for times like these, any kind of, major issue that happens. But, just again, how much time is left? Can I go back into the game? I mean, that's something that it stands out in my mind. There are tons of these kinds of moments. Not like this, but there's tons of huge memorable moments. But so far, Mario Lemieux and Peverley, I mean, they just stand out to me. This wasn't a play. This was his life. He almost lost his life right on the sidelines. Talk about hockey players are just built different.
That's for sure. I mean, how many times have you seen the memes where they have LeBron James there, he twists his ankle and they have to carry him off. Oh, the agony and the pain and all that.
Oh, so much pain.
And then you get hockey players taking, 90-mile-an-hour slap shots to the face, losing teeth, breaking feet, Patrice Bergeron played Game 7, collapsed lung. Come on. Rich Peverly was once a great Bruin as well, too. Dies on the bench, and when they revive him, wants to get back in the game. Tell me they're not wired differently.
That's some sick stuff.
Jen, that was a really good one. The first two on your side, we're going to have to give you the new nickname, the Grim Reaper.
Oh,
and
no.
just hope that people don't end up on your top 3 memorable moments list.
Hey, it all turned out well, so
hopefully your number one's got a brighter outcome, but we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, possibly, maybe.
All right, Jen, I'm going to go on to my number 2, and nobody died.
All right,
nobody,
give it to me.
Almost died. So my number 2 most memorable moment was Wayne Gretzky scores 50 goals in 39 games in 1981.
Oh, yeah. Gretzky.
Now, interestingly, when you start talking about 50 goals, usually the mark is 50 goals in 50 games. Now, Rocket Richard set that standard back in, I think it was 1945, I believe, when he did score 50 goals in 50 games. Mike Bossy, the great Mike Bossy, underrated Mike Bossy, did it in 1980 and 81 season. Cam Neely also did it. No one really ever surpassed that. It was always 50 and 50 was the mark, right? Well, then comes Wayne Gretzky, like I said, in that 1981-82 season, where he scores 50 goals in 39 games. Now, interestingly, the final day that he scored to break that record was on December 30th of 1981, and it was in a game between the Oilers and the Flyers. Now, Gretzky went out and scored, get this, 5 goals in that game. 5 goals, including an empty netter, which was the 50-goal marker for him. I mean, 5 goals in one game. Don't see that too often nowadays, especially with all the great talent out there. The funny thing is that the great one reached 50 goals, and nobody else in the league at that time even had 30 goals. So he was 20-something goals ahead of the second-place guy. When it got to the end of that season, Gretzky set another record where he scored 92 goals and had 212 points. 212 points. The 92-goal record still stands today, as well as he was the NHL's all-time goal scorer, but that was broken last year by the great 8, Alexander Ovechkin. But even with all that, nobody, Alexander Ovechkin included, has ever come close to Gretzky's record since of that 50 in 39 games, and it still remains as the standard by which all goal scorers are measured. I'm not sure if that record will ever be broken. I'm really not sure because Gretzky was great. The overall league wasn't as good as it is today. So basically, someone's got to score almost 1-point-something goals per game in the 39 games. I just don't know if that happens nowadays. We'll see. That's a mark that I don't think we'll ever see broken in the very near future.
Yeah, that's wild.
Jen, you bummed us out with your first 2 picks. All right, why don't you end strong? Hit us with this is the moment that essentially is etched in your brain for whatever the reason may be.
Oh, it's a biggie.
It's a biggie.
And it's I mean, I'll cop to it being, okay, that it's typical that somebody would choose that, but hey, typical or not, impressive. We're talking Soviet Union. We're talking United States. We're talking the two collide on ice at Lake Placid during the 1980 Winter Olympics. I mean, Miracle on Ice. They made a movie about it. My brain, let's see, I won't tell you how old I was in 1980, but I was not paying attention to hockey at that point in my life. I think it was Barbies. At that point, it was not hockey, not even close. I learned a lot about it from you, but then the movie, had to watch the movie to really get the feel of it, and something else, really something else. But a bunch of hopefuls at best,
college
playing
kids,
the game, and that one huge, massive catchphrase. What's the catchphrase, Jay? What's the catchphrase?
Buy one, get one free.
Yes, no, not even close. Do you believe in miracles?
Yes.
I mean, come on. Come
Al
on.
Michaels, baby.
That was some major stuff. I mean, there's so many guys that put their all into that game. And they came out the other end shining like the Stanley Cup.
I think a little bit better than the Stanley Cup because if you recall in the movie, I think did a great job portraying this. At the time, the Russian team was so good. They were just beating everybody. They were playing games against the NHL All-Stars and beating them by massive scores.
Brutal, yeah.
And now you're talking
Yes.
a bunch of college kids, right? College kids going up against a team that was together, I think, for over 15 years.
Yep. Yep. And here you got a bunch of unknowns.
And I think when you listen, I mean, you watch the movie, and obviously movies get sensationalized a little bit. But what's interesting is when you go and listen to the interviews of the players who played in that game after the fact, the Jim Craigs of the world, Mike Ruzionis, all those guys, they tell some really great stories as far as a lot of that stuff, you know, how Herb Brooks was just an incredible motivator and could get them to, you know, run through a brick wall if they had to.
Yeah, Herb Brooks put those guys together and just...
Some of those scenes they mentioned where they, you know, like that one scene, I think it was they were playing in Sweden, I think it was, or Switzerland. They tie and he keeps them and does, you know, sprints back and forth. On top of that, now, you know, I'm kind of going to riff off you as far as this. I remember that run vividly, and I remember the game itself as far as that. And one interesting fact was, you know, a lot of people thought that was for the gold medal, but it wasn't. It was to get into the gold medal game, which they had to come from behind and win that game as well. But the interesting part about that, and I've mentioned this on other podcasts, that for me, when that game came out, it was played, I believe, in the middle of the day, like 3 o'clock. And the news would come on at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I remember this vividly, that the newscaster, when the sports came on, said, we're going to tell you the score of the game. If you don't want to hear it, we're going to give you 10, 15 seconds to turn your TV off. And my father running in the other, I mean, running. I don't know if I've ever seen him run before to turn off that TV because it was on tape delay later on that night. And we watched on tape delay the Miracle on Ice. So that's why it's kind of vivid for me was that, you know, nowadays you don't get that because of the internet. You know when things happen, even when you're trying to, you know, block it out, or if you've recorded, like, say, a game, it just comes back to bite you in the end somehow because of the internet. It may have been Herb Brooks, may have been one of the players later on in life said, we could have played that game 10 times and they would have beat us 9.
I mean, talk about a David versus Goliath situation.
They just caught him at the right point, at the right time. And like you said, great movie on top of it, which I've had discussions about that as far as why it's a great movie and why it isn't.
5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
Great moment in history, memorable moment in history. So, all right, you redeemed yourself. You pulled us out of the doldrums. Nobody almost died. It was just a great game type of scenario. All right, I'm going to give you my number one. This number one for me etched in my brain. Now, I'll say this, I didn't witness it, but it's a piece of my history, and it's a piece of the city's history as well, too. What I'm referring to is the Bobby Orr flying goal in the Stanley Cup Finals in 1970.
I wanted to do that one, but I figured, you know what, let's see. You know, I'm sure Jay's going to want to go with that one.
I would fight you for that.
I'm
We
sure.
would fight for that. So
yeah. How many times have we taken a picture in front of that statue?
that's right. For those of you who don't know, there's a statue kind of honoring Bobby Orr out in front of the TD Bank North Arena. Everybody, yeah, you go by that. And if you don't know what it is, I'm going to say this. Outside of Miracle on Ice, you say Bobby Orr flying goal, everyone's seen the picture, right?
Oh, no, come on.
What was happening at that point was that it was overtime, and or scored the overtime winner in the Stanley Cup final where he fed the puck to Derek Sanderson, then hightailed it to the net. Derek Sanderson gave a great give and go right back to him where he popped it into the net. Now, some people seem to think that he scored the goal while he was in flight, if you would. No, he scored the goal, and if you watch the video, the defenseman of the Blues lifts his leg up on purpose. The interesting part is, and I don't remember his name, and I want to give him credit, the photographer that took the picture, if you go on YouTube, tells a great story of how that picture came to be. And I'm going to let you go there at some point and check that out. That picture was immortalized or flying through the air again after defenseman, I think his name was Pickard. Yeah, Noel Pickard tripped him just after he had scored the goal, as I mentioned. Now, the goal gave the Bruins their first Stanley Cup win in 30 years. And it confirmed at that point that Bobby Orr, from small town in Ontario, Parry Sound, was truly, in my mind, at that point, the greatest player in hockey. Now, since then, arguably, Wayne Gretzky had taken over that moniker. To this day, I still say Bobby Orr's number 2. Bobby Orr's done some amazing things in his career. Again, helps the Bruins win 2 Stanley Cups in his career. Iconic moment.
Iconic.
He goes on to win awards that year, same year that they won the Cup. He won the Conn Smythe as a playoff MVP. And he would win another Stanley Cup 2 years later and also win awards in that as well. But when it comes right down to it, that image of him flying through the air with his stick raised is just an iconic moment.
I have to say, to what you were saying before too, if you go to Boston, you're going into TD Garden, you see that and you don't know what it is, turn around, go home. Just turn around, go home. I don't care if you're there for the Bruins or the away team. You don't know what that is? Don't come into the Garden.
Right. I agree. But unfortunately, there are people out there that maybe don't know what it is, but that's what this podcast is for. We're educating you people. If you don't know what the flying oar is, you need to go see what it is. You need to use the internet for something other than shopping on Amazon or, finding dumb cat videos.
Yeah.
You need to educate yourself about Bobby Orr.
There you go. There's so many things that we can learn that are going to help shape the world. But let's do some research on Bobby Orr.
Bobby
I'm
Orr.
telling
That's
you.
all we're going to say. Jen, there are moments I thought at the end of the day they were pretty memorable. Each one that you brought up, I remembered, and I'm hoping the ones I brought up that you remembered. There were some honorable mentions that didn't make the list.
Okay, what you got?
Such as, you had the New York Islanders dynasty, where they won 4 straight Stanley Cups. I mean, I think that's a memorable moment in our lifetime. Not to be outdone, the Edmonton Oilers have a dynasty in that time period as well, too, from 84 to 90, where Wayne Gretzky, as we mentioned before, along with Mark Messier, leads them to 5 Stanley Cups for the Oilers. Now, for you Canadian listeners, almost got on the list was Sidney Crosby's golden goal in the 2010 Olympics. I know that's technically outside the NHL, but still.
Hey, we're not talking NHL only. We're talking hockey.
Crosby, overtime winner for Canada, and they win the gold medal from that, which hopefully, we've got coming up in the near future with the Olympics. But there was a lot of other great moments, I'm sure, and I'd be curious what other people thought. As far as in their lifetime, what's a moment that's just stuck with them? A team, a player, a situation, whatever the case may be. We'd like to hear what your memorable moment is. So what you want to do is go to our Instagram page at Hockey and Podcast. Look at all our cool videos first. Give us a bunch of hearts. But then message us and let us know what's your memorable moment of an NHL game, player, what have you. And we want to hear it.
Sincerely, y'all. We do want to know. Ours are not the only voices we want to hear. We want some back and forth. So if you got some thoughts on things, please let us know.
All right, Jen, before we move on to our next segment, Jen, where do you go when you want to buy, sell, or trade your sports cards?
My sports cards, the maybe one or two that I have, I don't know. Why don't you tell me a good place to do that?
A lot of people like to go on the big platforms like the Shmee. Unfortunately, when you go on those platforms, they take a big chunk of your money when you sell. Well, a better alternative is the sponsor of this podcast, and that is My Card Post. Now, you may be asking, what is My Card Post?
Tell me, baby, what is My Card Post?
Great question. My Card Post is a place where you can go buy, sell, or trade your cards on a great platform. Now, here's the one great thing, along with some other many, many great features, is when you sell a card on My Card Post, you don't have to pay anything. Anything. No percentages of your sale or anything. The only thing you have to do is sign up for a subscription to sell on My Card Post, which is under $20 a month for the top tier. And every card you sell, you get to keep. I'll give you a quick math.
Regardless of amount.
That's right. I'll give you a quick example. I sell you a card for $100. Guess how much money goes into my pocket?
Let me think here. I'm thinking $100?
Bingo, bango. And that's what makes My Card Post great. On top of it, they have a lot of other great features that you need to check out. So, go check out My Card Post, the best place to buy, sell, trade, and keep your money, especially in today's economy. Keeping your money is a good thing. Go check out, sponsor of this podcast, My Card Post. Okay, shout out to Mark at My Card Post. As always, definitely go give them a check out because it's a really cool site. You could buy some really cool things on.
I've heard he's a good guy, too.
He's a great guy. He's a really great guy. You'll meet him one day, and you'll love him too. Jen, segment 2. Here we go. I'm going to apologize to all the people out there right off the bat. I'm sorry I found this, and I'm sorry I asked her to do this. I'm probably going to be the most embarrassed of anyone listening to this moving forward.
Oh, come on.
All right, Jen, hit us up with, there are actually hockey romance novels.
There are. So it's a massive genre. I had no idea when I started looking into it. As far as sports being the focus in books, hockey, out of all of them, between football, baseball, rugby's getting in there, MMA's in there, they're starting to bring up Formula One too. It's winding up in these spicy romance books. But hockey is number one. And hockey is number one as far as subject matter, sports subject matter, because of the intensity. There's so much intensity in hockey. And who's going to read the romance novels? It's mainly what? It's not going to be you? You're not going to read them?
No.
Okay. All right. It's mainly going to be women that are going to read although there are quite a few men. This is not one-sided. So this is not just, we're not being sexist here. This is one of those things where, anybody can read it. Anybody can enjoy it. I mean, if you love the spicy, it's spicy. But there's so many different ways they go about it. You got enemies to lovers. That's a situation where they're going to fight. They're not going to like each other. I'm talking the guy is not going to like the girl and vice versa. There's going to be some heat between them. They're not going to be, it's friends to lovers. Enemies to lovers. So they're not going to get along at first. There's going to be tension. With hockey, they're running around constantly all fired up. So that's passion and romance. Hello. It's an easy fit. So you got situations, tough guy, the brutal guy goes out there, he's fighting everybody. He's putting his fist into everybody's face. And then he's coming home to you. That's sweet. It's sweet. Yeah, I know. He's making faces over here. But you got the passion, the fights, the sweat, the blood. High intensity. When they get off the ice, They're sensitive. They're loyal. They're heroes with a softer side. They're going along with the team dynamics. They're going to be there for each other. It's going to be steamy. You know it's going to get steamy. And we're not talking about sweat from playing. We're talking about other activities.
The nook nook.
The nook nook, as you say. I mean, from everything that I'm hearing, it makes learning about hockey fun and accessible. There's a lot of women. Oh, yeah, go for it.
Question.
Yeah,
okay.
go for it.
In these novels,
Yes.
how much of the book is actually about hockey? What percentage would you say? Like in these stories?
Okay, so a good part of it is about hockey. If you're asking me, is it realistic hockey? I would say not really. Not really. But that's okay. You know, I mean, we know the realism of hockey. We know
The Mighty Ducks is not real hockey, but we love the movies.
There you go. So, I mean, and it's really taken off, even more so because of book talk, which you may not even know what book talk is, but it's a genre of TikTok that is just devoted to books. So if you look up book talk on TikTok, you know, you'll come across just, I mean, there's so many groups that are just obsessed with books. Take a look at the hockey book talk, which reminds me, Boy Aquarium. Have you ever heard that? That is a thing. That is a thing. Boy Aquarium. So the girls that are reading these books, they decide to go to a game, right? All the guys are behind glass. They're all behind glass. So it's like they're in a fishbowl. You see where I'm going here? And we are looking at all of these beautiful fishies just swimming around. And so with Book Talk and Instabook, aka Instagram devoted to books, it's definitely getting some ladies hot under the collar.
I got to pause you right there just for a second and say, shame on you, women. Shame on you. You've taken a beautiful thing like ice hockey and you've managed to turn it into this puffy shirt, fantasy long hair and my breeze in my hair type of scenario.
Hey,
when it's just a pure game.
You gotta Google some of this stuff, or you know, just take a look at some of the stuff that's on Instagram and about this specifically. Y'all go in and specifically look up Boy Aquarium. There will be reels upon reels upon reels upon reels of these situations. Is specifically what the girls are thinking, what they're seeing, why they're there at the games. Have you noticed an influx of females who you can tell are brand new to hockey? Well, this is why. This is why, folks.
Shame, shame, shame.
Yeah.
You're turning us into just pieces of meat.
Oh, you poor guys, you poor guys. I'll tell you though, you know, when you look at some of these videos and you see, you know, they're slowing them down. They're in slow motion. The guys are taking off their helmets, shaking their wet hair around. And I tell you, I get it. I see it.
What's funny is I was introduced to this and I wasn't even aware of it as a young lad. Now, what I mean by that is this. If you recall the movie Youngblood with Rob Lowe and
Oh, yes.
Keanu Reeves was in it, and I'm trying to remember Roadhouse. Patrick Swayze. Sorry. Patrick Swayze was the grizzled veteran about to get in the NHL.
Yep.
Rob Lowe, the farm boy. So you talk about this, and in that movie was this situation. So Rob Lowe comes into a new organization as a 17-year-old.
Smoking.
Where he meets this gorgeous girl who's working around the rink, who ignores him, kind of gives him some crap. Come to find out, That is the coach's daughter. They start to develop a relationship.
Enemies to
Eventually,
lovers.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. You're going into my next point. You brought us right into the next point. That is the storyline. Okay. It's the story. You got to find a girl somewhere in this mix. A lot of the storyline is girl gets the guy, right? What is actually happening with this? Is this something that's actually happening? I mean, the books really romanticize everything. The guy, is going after the coach's daughter, like you mentioned, or, he's got an assistant who she's brand new at all of this and
Trying to make her mark, and I don't want to be vulnerable.
right. And, she doesn't want to go for these brainless hockey beefcakes. Of course, little by little, things get a little cute, a little bit of flirting going on. But it's all fun and games till somebody gets a poke in the eye,
That's
And
words
then
to live by.
eventually, things fall apart. So I was wondering if you wouldn't mind.
Yes, this happened to me at the rink all the time. All the time as a young lad,
Oh,
I was just
yes.
struggling
Well,
and yeah, happened all the time to me.
women falling in your lap, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
they were always,
yeah.
they were always untouchable. It was the coach's
I'm telling
daughter.
you.
It was the mother had a
Yeah.
shotgun. I mean, you know how that stuff rolls.
Hey, I sent you a few little synopses
Yes, you
there,
did.
and I thought maybe you could just pick one or two that you thought were interesting and give it a quick read.
I'm only going to read one.
Okay.
As a male, it just, like I said, you're turning us into an object.
Yes.
But that's okay. For the segment, I will read these.
Okay, now these are only synopses. We are not taking out a page from their books. We're just reading the back cover.
Okay. Here's one. I'm not going to tell you the name. Here's the description. And it says, and I quote, "They call him the beast of the blue line." Already we're not starting off well. Come on. This is just terrible
don't say
writing.
that.
Okay. Goes on to say, "I call him the stalker in my kitchen. Victor is the NHL's most feared defenseman.
Oh, you chose one of the dark novels.
Now that hockey season's over, he's done playing by the rules. He thinks breaking into my house is courtship.
Woohoo!
That he can claim every part of me by force. Isn't that like a crime? Anyway,
no, it's called stalking. It's a little creepy.
Goes on to say, I should be terrified, but the scariest part is ... it's winning me over. But I only have 6 weeks. 6 weeks of freedom to explore this dangerous game. 6 weeks before my biggest secret comes home. 6 weeks to pretend I'm not falling for his passionate touch. But when that time is up, I don't think Victor's going to let me go. A scorching, hot hockey romance where a possessive Russian defenseman sets his sights on a sassy single mom who pretends to hate his stalking, but secretly craves his obsessive attention. This twisted romance will leave you breathless as these two navigate their way to an unexpected, happily ever after.
Twisted is probably the right word to use. Now, let's preface this by saying this one is considered a dark hockey romance. So there are some themes of, some heavier, mature themes. This stuff is out there.
So basically what that book is telling me is here's a single woman in whatever year we're talking about here that is getting stalked, that is potentially in danger, and we're okay with it because there's a twist of passion to it.
And they're a sexy hockey player.
Well, that's that's a given. I get that. I get that.
I see the allure. I see how, the tension on the ice. After they come off the ice, the tension is there. It's some heavy duty stuff, but I just want to take this time to say to the ladies, stop listening at this point because I don't want to burst your bubble.
Okay, we're gonna turn these into real life scenarios now.
5. Oh,
All right,
yeah.
all right,
Yeah, we're going down
all
that
right.
road. We're going down. Let's talk about the reality.
Let's talk about the reality.
Ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so I dated and then married a hockey player.
Was it Victor?
Was not Victor. No.
Okay. You didn't date a Russian defenseman?
No. That's no. Absolutely not. And definitely not somebody like that. It was scared of living daylights at me. I'd go running, screaming.
Yeah, you know how that book ends? Law and Order SVU comes in and looks at the case.
Okay, well, yeah, okay. Now, I mean, that was a spicy one. They're not all like that. It's sweet. It's, it's not as creepy.
They kind of fall for each other. Something happens. They break apart, and then something happens, and they end up together.
Yeah, like what was that movie? That movie years ago that was something Edge. It was with
Cutting Edge.
DB Sweeney,
figure skater, hockey player.
Right. I mean, that kind of stuff. That. Okay, you get what I'm saying.
Before you go on to the real life scenario, interestingly enough, and I didn't know this, but isn't there a show on HBO, a series that deals with hockey players and all that stuff, just a little bit differently? But again, there are TV or movies that have been made about this too.
Absolutely, it's out there. It's out there. It's a big thing. It's a big thing. It's not just the occasional. I mean, when you're talking books that have to do with sports. Okay, romances, and that there's a ton of those. But the top of the top of the top is hockey. There's a lot of books out there, and a lot of women are reading the books about these hockey players and, all of these wonderful things and, off the ice, coming off the ice, and let's jump into bed off the ice. And I want to give you the lowdown. Because, I don't know.
Hit us with the reality.
All right. When you and I were dating, I drove up. I was happy. I was happy to be with the guys. It was so much fun. I loved it. And we're driving up, got 3 guys and me, and all of their bags. I mean, that was fun. Trying to drive up with all of the bags. Nobody tells you in these books that if you drive up with the hockey players, you're going to be smushed because, if you don't have a big enough car, that the hockey bag is going to take precedence too. So there's that. So then we get all the way up there, an hour away. We'd get there for 11, usually on a Sunday with like work the next day. And then a couple hours sitting there watching you play, yelling at you, of course, yelling, what are you doing? What are you doing? Shoot the puck. It's kind of, that was tripping, all that good stuff. The best part of this whole thing, the whole experience, I'm a young woman. I was 21. It would be a lot of women's dream to be like, oh, these beautiful, sweaty men coming off the ice. Let's get in the car. We're going to get in the car. Now we're going to drive home in the freezing cold for an hour after they sweat at 2 a.m, after they sweated the whole game. And, let's add in, they stink. They see, and this is not, I love hockey players. I love hockey. I love my husband, but you got to know it's bad when it's like below 0 and you need, for the love of all that's holy, you need the windows open because the hockey gear itself retains. Even if you dunk that stuff, especially the gloves, you dunk that stuff, you clean it, you do everything that you can do. There is no getting the stench out of this thing. So, that's reality on that end. Then you throw into it the fact that they're not fighting for the girl. They're not. It's not something that's even on their mind. They're not looking for a girl at that point. All these young women, they think they're going to stand up against the wall and look into the boy aquarium and the little fishies are going to notice them too. Guess what? They're not even seeing you. They're not seeing you. They are so focused on the game at that point. That was for you. That one, I don't remember ever seeing that. you celebrate with each other. You got the sweat, just the sweat in itself. Let's take we'll take the smelly equipment out of it. They're drenched from head to toe, sweat. It's not silky. It's not, slippery. It's not sexy. It's not a pretty thing. It's not a pretty thing. And then last, but certainly not least, injury. It's not, oh, he gets injured, I'm going to help him. And no. McAvoy. What just happened to McAvoy?
Took a puck to the face.
He broke his jaw.
Surgery, reconstructive surgery, put plates in there.
I mean, that's some messed up stuff. There's nothing sexy about that. I guarantee you, I can't remember if he's married or not.
He is.
Yeah. I guarantee you, she's not being sexy helping him, and he's not being sexy getting himself back together. He's hurting. He's suffering.
Had surgery. He was out for a few weeks, right? Plates and all that. He gets back on the ice. In that time period, since he got hit with the puck to when he got back on the ice, he dropped 20 pounds of weight, and he was still not able to eat solid foods at that point. But yet he's back out on the ice playing in the NHL.
Lots of movies. That's some rough stuff. There's nothing sexy about that. So I see how the women do the whole. They watch. Well, I shouldn't say women. Let me back that up, because I'm a woman and that's not how I was. So we'll say the non-hockey fan female.
Fans of the books.
The fans of the books. They go to the games and they are finding they are really enjoying the games because, come on, let's face it, hockey's intense. The excitement doesn't stop. But they are finding it is completely different than what the books are putting together. They're just like life. The romance books, you're not going to have the same kind of romance that's written in those books. Real life comes into the whole thing and messes it all up.
I could see where, everybody gets that, like you said. I mean, let's look at the hockey player. I mean, he's in great physical shape nowadays, right? I mean, those guys are just cut.
Yeah.
Let's throw on top of it, the look for a hockey player nowadays is the long, flowing, like you said, hair. That's a given. So good looks, great hair. Oh, by the way, a lot of them dress superbly.
Hello,
which
yes.
is a female aphrodisiac. They have the walk-ins where they're wearing, the suits that are tailored to them and all that.
Oh yeah, just a side point, guys. Hockey players. I know that they've started to relax the way that you can show up and whatnot. Don't do it, please. Us females, even massive fans of the game itself, not the boy Aquarium. I'm not a boy Aquarium fan. However, a man in a great fitting suit, there's nothing like it. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. I get where all of this fandom, where all of this mindset is going. I totally get it. And I wish it were the case. It would be awesome. I mean, are you kidding? I would have, man. I mean, I got a husband now who's a hockey player and plays guitar. He's been in bands. I mean, how hot is that? Let me tell you how hot. It's not that hot. I mean, it's great. I love it. He's amazing. My husband's amazing. Was a great hockey player. We'll see if he's going to be again. That's going to be coming up in January. We'll be discussing that too. Might even throw in some video just to see how he's doing out there. Overall, there's not really that much sexiness when it comes to hockey. So sorry to burst your bubble.
Well, it makes sense. Let's look at this from like you said, realistically. I'm pretty sure back in the day when pirates would overthrow a ship, would overthrow an island, and, they would take in the sexy French, whatever, sexy English with the heaving bosoms and all that. They would go down into the bowels of the ship and proceed to passionately make loves. Come on, first and foremost.
Yes, the bowels of the ship. Bowels of the ship actually puts it right. Bowels of the ship.
First of all, back in the 1800s, everyone stunk. Nobody had proper hygiene. Oh, yeah, like you said. Then, by the way, these are people that came to attack where you lived and probably killed your husband, your family, your father to obtain this.
There is no romance in any of it. There is just survival. If you're looking for that in the real life, you're not going to find it. Sorry, it's not there. But that being said, I am massively proud of my hockey playing husband. You know, it's an awesome thing to see my husband out there and watch you play and watch you enjoy playing and, you know, the game. And it's a great thing. Enjoy it thoroughly.
And do I look fine in the suit?
You look great in the suit, babe. You look really great in the suit.
And with that, we end this segment where we looked into hockey novels and the boys in the aquarium. Are you somebody who has read one of these novels or continues to read one of these novels? Are you somebody who goes to a game not for the action on the ice, but for the action on the ice?
The boy aquarium. I'm telling you, the stretches that they say, if you're going to go to warm up. You can't miss warm up. And I see why. I understand it.
There's just another example of how women have turned us into objects in the year 2000 and almost 26.
It's about time.
It's about time. I understand that. There is the fascinating world of hockey romance novels. What do you think? Are you a fan of? Do you find it repulsive? Or do you just not care? Let us know one way or another, because at the end of the day, your opinion is your opinion. Well, Jem, that's it. We're done. Episode 2. We finished it. We're rolling now. We've caught the groove. We've got 2 in the books. We're getting ready for number 3. As we've mentioned before, we intend to release a new episode every week where we drop it on Wednesday. As you're listening to this now, hopefully on Wednesday, but if not, hopefully shortly thereafter. If you enjoy this podcast, what we're asking is obviously what everybody else wants you to do. Give us a like, give us a follow, give us a subscribe on such platforms as Spotify or Apple Podcast, if you could be so kind. Because doing that wakes up the big algorithm in the sky and it pushes it out there to more people where they too can find out that there are romance novels about ice hockey and how bad they really are. So if you do all of that, you'll help those people out as well. All right, Jen, we're done. The nice thing about it is last time we were leaving, you were cold, you were hungry. How are you doing today? Comfortable? Well fed, maybe?
No, I'm kind of cold and hungry again, but you know, hey, that's just the way things go.
Well, the good thing about it is once this podcast is done, we've got chicken wings on the menu while we watch the Bruins play the now Quinn Hughes full Minnesota Wild. How about that?
Nice.
We're going to sign off and we're going to go eat some wings and we're going to go watch a hockey game. For Hockey and Podcast, I'm your host, Jay. Along with me is the wonderful and charming host, Yennefer.
Yeah. Oh, you went there.
How about that, huh?
A little bit of Witcher
little
plug.
Witcher. But as always, as we said, we had a good time talking about hockey and we hope you tune in next week. So, Jen, why don't you give the people a final adieu?
Hope you all have a good week. Hope you all are safe out there. Watch some hockey.
No finer words could be spoken. So for the Hockey In Podcast, signing off is Jay and Jennifer. We'll see you real soon, people.
Ciao.